Hello and welcome to the Business of Meeting podcast. I'm your host, Eric Rozenberg. Over the years, I've had the privilege of helping businesses in the meetings and event industry grow and succeed. And I'm excited to share that experience with you. If you feel alone and overwhelmed, and if you're looking to take your business to the next level, improve your strategy and sales, and connect with like-minded professionals, you are in the right place. I invite you to visit eventbusinessformula.com and join our community of event business owners dedicated to exponential growth. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hello, and welcome to a new episode of the Business of Meeting podcast. Today, I want to address the current uncertainty in the world. When I say current, it's almost like since I've been working, I've heard the word uncertainty, but it doesn't stop for sure. I don't think there is no back to normal if there ever was. It's evolving probably faster than ever. And for sure, our industry is permanently changed. The buyers are more cautious. Procurement is tighter than ever. And of course, AI is reshaping completely how we work. But in the meantime, I also believe that the more people will be using AI, the more they will want to come in person. So I see this uncertainty as an opportunity as well. Another element is this for sure consolidation is happening. There's a lot of, there's what we call the tsunami of baby boomers retiring. This is affecting our industry as well. And in other words, there's also a lot of opportunities. Why? Because most of the people that have a business that they haven't sold, it's probably too small to be sold to a private equity. The next generation doesn't necessarily want to take over the business. And it's weird to hear regularly some businesses that just stop because there was nobody else to take them over. So there's also room for consolidation over here. But I think the bottom line is if your business is depending on you, then your business is very fragile. And that's also something that we can work on. If it works in good conditions, great. If it doesn't work in tough condition, I would say it's probably you don't have a business, you have momentum, and there's never too late to start doing the process of structuring it. And what I say is prepare your business to be sold, even if you don't want to sell it. That means delegating, that means structuring, and that means reducing the uncertainty. So what does actually uncertainty do? It's exposing the flaws of the business. It's exposing if you have a weak positioning, if you cannot clearly explain what you're doing. It's exposing if you have inconsistent revenue, because then if you lose one client, suddenly the business is in jeopardy, which means that that client was representing too much of your revenue. It also exposes the fact that you are the bottleneck as a business owner. And I know exactly what I'm talking about because the first years of my first business, that's who I was. I was the bottleneck. So I always try not to be that. Then there's also the emotion that you have to deal with as a business owner. And I think also what is extremely important is the lack of financial clarity. If you don't have your numbers straight, if you don't know where you're going, if you don't know where your cash flow is, if you don't know where your pipeline is, that is something that will definitely impact your business. And again, if you're like me, especially when I started my first business, you're probably going to say, yeah, all of the above. So most of the owners will react emotionally because it's our business, because it's our life, it's what we wanted to do. And some people can react and have strange behavior, doing like panic marketing, absolutely going out in every direction without even thinking who your ideal client is, discounting, which is worse. And I have a story I'm going to share with you in a minute about that. Saying yes to everything instead of trying to keep on your positioning, on what you do best, on the type of client and the business you want to have. And of course, there's the overworking where, it's our business, it's our life. So we're going to do everything that is possible in order to fight the situation, to reduce the uncertainty and to continue with the business. And the last point, which again is something that is very important, that is affecting all of us, is avoiding the financial review. So that is not running a business. That is survival mode, and survival mode kills strategy. And the example I want to share with you about discounting or about having an idea of your numbers and what's coming. I had a friend who was bidding for a very important insurance company when I had my corporate event agency in Belgium. And there was an insurance company. I won't say the name because I want to be nice, but the guy knew that the responsible of that company knew that I will never bid for any of their project. And one day he asked me why I was not bidding. And I told him, because your game is to lower the fees of the agency and you're getting a kick out of it. You don't appreciate the work that it's being done. You're changing every 2 years. And that's not the type of clients that I want to be working with. Well, I was not that happy, but he didn't deny what I told him. So back to my friend, I heard that he won the business that year. So I want to congratulate him. But I said, I heard also that you reduce your fees to 3% or 4%. And he said, yeah, that's right. And one thing you have to know in context is that in Belgium at that time, it was 17.65%, the norm. Don't ask me how they get to that number, but that's what it was. And I look at him and say, 3-4%? Well, how could you even sustain your business with that? And his answer was, oh, I don't care. My year is done. And I was completely flabbergasted. I said, okay, so what you're telling me is next year, when they come back, you're going to say you're going to go back to the 17.65 because your business is not done and you think they're going to care? Anyway, he was very happy, very proud of winning that. But unfortunately, a few years later, guess what? The company went belly up, which quite frankly is not surprising if you look at that way at numbers. So don't go into panic marketing. Don't start discounting. Don't say yes to everything. Try not to overwork. I know it's not always easy, but most importantly, you need to have a great idea of your numbers. So in uncertain time like today, you really need to focus on 5 things. One is financial clarity. That's a non-negotiable. 2 is to focus your positioning. 3, it's to build a predictable revenue engine. 4 is to have a very strict way of managing your time and really focus on your priorities. And 5 is to have the emotional discipline because it's a roller coaster. The financial clarity, you need to know your monthly break even. If I ask you what is your 6 months runway, what is your cash flow forecast? What is the situation of your pipeline? You need to know those numbers. And by doing that, by knowing those numbers, that will considerably reduce the uncertainty. If not, you're really guessing. And quite frankly, hope is not a cash management strategy. So you need to know those numbers. And by the way, you don't need to prepare the numbers yourself. You definitely try to outsource that to the right person and ask them what you want to see on a regular basis, whether it's every 2 weeks, every month. But at least you are defining the numbers you want to be looking at. But that's not you who necessarily have to prepare that. So that's for the financial clarity. When it comes to focus your positioning, if you are too general, the uncertainty in the market, the uncertainty in the world, that will not favor the generalist. You need to answer the question, who are you working for? What problem do you solve? Why should people work with you and not another person? If your answer is vague, then the budget will bypass you. And so, for instance, give you an example, who are you for? What problem do you solve? I help business owners in the meetings and event industry to grow their business and prepare it for sales, even if they don't want to sell it. Okay. That's who I work for. That's the problem I solve. And at the end of the day, why me? It's because my experience of starting, growing, exceeding multiple businesses in our industry is unique. I've done it before and I know what it takes. Okay. So that's in 30 seconds how I look at my business and how I position myself and how I'm helping people. So you need to answer those questions for you and for what you do. Who are you for? What problems do you solve? And why should people be working with you? That's the focus positioning, and that will also lower the uncertainty. My third point is about building a predictable revenue engine. It's great to have referrals. That's how most of us, including myself, started. And referrals are very important, and you can have great testimonials as well. But it's not enough. And if you want to scale the business, you need more than referrals. You need to have a pipeline with different stages in the sales process. You need to know your leading indicators. And that's a distinction I always make between leading indicator and lagging indicator. You need to measure basically the leading indicator is what you're going to be doing every day that is going to provide the results that you're looking for. What is your conversion rate? How many calls, how many meetings, how many offers, how many conversion do you have? And also the follow-up system. At the base, I'm not a lover of systems and process. That's not in my character. But actually, I am a lover of process and system because that's how I build businesses. And there is no way that you can scale a business or that you can manage a business without being involved in it from morning till evening and doing everything yourself. There's no way you can do that if you don't have the processes. So you need to have the process. If not, you're going to be busy from morning till evening until you burn out and there's no business. And quite frankly, that's the main danger. If the revenue depends only on your personality, your business is not scaled. And I would offer as well that it's not safe. God forbid something happened to you, there's nothing else. So in order to do that, you need to have the structure, you need to work on predictability and also transferability. In other words, if you wanted to transfer the business to someone, is that possible? Or is the business too much depending on you? As I often say, the less you're involved in your business, the higher the value. Let me repeat that. The less you are involved in the daily activities of your business, the higher the value of your business. So I've spoke about financial clarity, the focused positioning, the predictable revenue engine. Now let's talk about the time management and the emotional discipline. When you are uncertain, if you're like me, when I'm uncertain, what do? I consume more content, I attend more webinars, I scroll more, I react more. Great. And what is the end result? Not much. It's great to learn, and I'm a lover of, and I'm a really, how do you say in English, a sucker for learning. And I love reading books, and I love attending webinars and mastermind, everything. Now, the question is, what do I learn there that I apply and systematically apply? So in order to do that, you need to block time. You need to have a very strict way of managing your time and being very, very, very hard on saying no to other things that are coming in. So you need to block time for the revenue generating activities. If you're telling me that growing a business is important, then sales is important. And if I look at your calendar and I see that you don't even have 1 hour block in your calendar to work on your business every day, don't tell me that it's important to grow your business because it's not happening. So you need to block time for that. You need also to block time for strategic thinking, to work on your business, to think about where the world is going, where the industry is going, and what you can be doing and thinking about the strategy. An hour per week, 2 hours per week. I personally have blocked my Fridays afternoon to think of that. Do I miss some Friday afternoon because there's an urgency, because there's a client? Yes, but most of the time, that's when I'm thinking about the strategic thinking. And then you need to make sure that everybody in your company is aligned with your vision. They understand it, they share it, they live it, they act upon it, and that takes time and it's an ongoing process. It's never done. We need to keep aligning the team, going back to the values, which is also why it's important to define your culture and your values, but that's for another conversation. And then you need also to have time to review your numbers. Every week, at least, you need to review your key performance indicator, your KPI. You have, and I talked about it in a previous episode, but you have your dashboard, you have the main KPIs. You need to look at them and make decision based about them. It's nice to have the data, but if you don't use it, so you need to block time to do that. And in order to do that, you also need to get a coach, to get a mentor, to be in the community, in a group that understand your needs, that are living the same challenges. And again, that's one of the reasons why I'm so confident that the more people use AI, the more they want to come in person, because it's not only for checking that people are real, but also to exchange information. As human beings, we like to belong, we like to be part of a community. So you need to block time for all those activities, revenue generating activities, strategic thinking, team alignment, reviewing your numbers, and getting time for your coach and mentor. If you don't have an hour per week, 2 hours per week to sit down with somebody who's going to give you tough love, I would offer that you're going to be on your own and you are not on the right pathway to growth. So, in summary, for that, I would say that it's not about business. Busyness, that is not control. So, you need to be very conscious, aware, as Jean-Claude Van Damme would say. You need to be aware of how you're spending your time and how you're blocking your time. And finally, it's the emotional discipline. And this, quite frankly, where most of us will fail. And if you look at the way your team operates, if you look at the way your clients feel you, if you look at the way your partners are interacting with you, they see your state of emotional discipline. And so I'm not saying to hide your emotion. And I'm the last one who can talk about it, because what you see is what you get, and you can tell how I feel and what I think by just looking at me. So, but if you are reactive, or if you are dramatic, if you're fear driven, basically what you're doing, you're amplifying the instability. So, quite frankly, if you cannot control your emotion and be calm in every situation, you probably shouldn't be working in this industry. There's always some things happening. And so, calm is really a leadership skill. You need to learn that. And that's also how you can reassure the client. I can give you plenty of situation. Give just one example. One day I cancel maybe 30 minutes before they were going to leave the hotel to come for a dinner. I canceled the dinner and I told my client I'll find a solution in the next 45 minutes. Point being, we were in Tenerife. We were going to have an amazing dinner, the zoo, the room with the window and the white tigers on the other side. And it's been raining, pouring rain for the last 4 days in Tenerife. Never rains in Tenerife. Yeah, right. And then I went for the advancing, and I saw on the roof there was little bubble in the ceiling, which actually was water. And I didn't want to have a dinner there, and suddenly the roof will go down. So sometimes you have to take a hard decision. But then again, if you stay calm, your clients know you. That's very important, and you basically convey that. And I'll give you another example, then I'll stop, because if not, I'm going to be speaking for 3 hours with war stories of running project. But we were chartering two planes for a client in two different cities, and I was with one of the plane, and there was a little piece that was broken, so they couldn't start the engine, and we had to wait for 2 hours for this little piece to be brought from another airport. And the local responsible, if you want, of my client, which was not the person I was working with, but he was just the local ahead of the project, if you want, guiding everyone that were going to the retreat in that plane, start screaming at me, and because he wanted to show his colleague that he was not happy, they were taking thing in his hand. And I looked at him and said, can I have a word? But not in front of everyone. And I say, sure. And then we went apart, and I said, listen, this piece of the engine, neither you or me can do anything about it. This airline is part of the Star Alliance group. So, quite frankly, it's not that we're looking with the cheapest airline, and they have rules as well for maintenance. Now, you can hate me, you can scream at me as much as you want. The only thing you're going to do is to stress all of your colleagues. So what I suggest, stay calm. I'll give you the information. You can hate me afterwards, you can fire me afterwards, but the experience of your colleagues for the next 4 days are basically depending on how you react the next 15 minutes. That's all I can tell you. I want to help you, but it's your choice. And he calmed a little bit, and everything was fine. And afterwards, the retreat went very well. I know to say when somebody is not calm, telling them to keep calm is not helping. But in this situation, you explain the fact. The bottom line is the way you behave, the way you control yourself is how your client's going to react, and also is going to impact the entire experience of the participant. So anyway, I'm sure you've been in such situation, and quite frankly, if you cannot handle it, that's probably not the right industry for you, but that's another story. And it's certainly not, entrepreneurship is certainly not then the right type of business for you, because it's a roller coaster. You go from celebrating the highest win and the next day the lowest low. That's how it is. So at the end of the day, what's going to happen in the future is that if you don't have the structure, you're going to kill your business. There's a lot of consolidation, and the uncertainty, I believe, is going to benefit those who are enjoying a minimum of structure. And then again, you might be an independent person, you're a one-person company, you might be a 100-employee company. Doesn't make any difference for me in terms of you need processes, you need structure. And if you don't have that, then you don't have a business. And if you have that structure, then you're going to be very well positioned in the following years. And as I've said many times, you shouldn't feel alone. That's a major issue that we have, is that we feel alone, overwhelmed for the right reason, but there's a solution for it. Thing is, nobody's coming. So we need to take that first step and get help in order to start structuring our business and growing it. So what I would suggest to you is to do something the next month, the next 30 days. If you can focus on those 5 things the next 30 days, I think you're going to start getting that structure and reducing the uncertainty. Those 5 things is, first, you need to have a good grasp on your numbers and look at your financial runway, your pipelines, your KPIs, your leading indicator. That's the first thing. Second, you need to have a clean pipeline. And for each opportunities, define the probabilities. Don't try to be nice to yourself. Don't be too hard on yourself, but really focus on defining all the probabilities in the clean pipeline. The third thing that you need to do is to clarify your core offer in one sentence. You need to know exactly what problem you're solving, for whom, how you're doing it, and why should people be working with you afterwards. Clarify who you're working with and for, and what you're offering. Number 4, eliminate at least one low margin program, which I would call a distraction. If you've been doing something for years that is a very, very low margin that is taking you a lot of time, eliminate that. Make rooms for what matters in your business. And fifth, and most importantly, I believe, and that's a non-negotiable for me, schedule your weekly CEO time. That is something that you need to be doing. If you look at it the next 30 days, 1, audit your financial runway. 2, clean your pipeline and define the probabilities. 3, clarify your core offer. 4, eliminate at least one low margin distraction. And 5, schedule your weekly CEO time. I promise you, you're going to reduce the uncertainty and have a definite impact on your business. And at the end of the day, uncertainty is not something to survive. It's something to deal with, something that we cannot control, but we can reduce, and to focus on things that we actually have an impact on. There's also an opportunity, a lot of opportunity today with uncertainty. So there's something to leverage. And at the end of the day, the calm and structure and the operator, the one who's disciplined, is going to win. And if you want to end with a little of humor, I would quote one of my favorite leaders of all time, Winston Churchill. And he said, "When you go through hell, keep walking." Thank you, and I will see you on the next episode. Thank you for tuning in to the Business of Meeting podcast. I hope you found today's episode valuable. If you enjoyed the show, the most important thing you can do is leave a review and share it with your colleagues. It really helps spread the word. I truly appreciate your support. And if you're ready to take your business to the next level, don't forget to visit eventbusinessformula.com to learn more about how we are helping even business owners like you. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you next time.